right, and welcome back. This next segment is going to be sort of an extension of what we talked about the last time, kind of exploring the high setting of the Doepfer A140 right there. Last time we did kind of a sonic type sound using a VCO. I didn't get too crazy. I just kind of wanted to do a basic patch. But this time around, we're going to use some white noise with our envelope generator and our VCA to create a different type of sound. Again, with using the A190 as well, so I'll be triggering the notes that we hear from a keyboard. So I'm going to take the output here of my white noise, just start my patch, and I'm going to plug it into my input here of my VCA. There we go. And I'm going to actually take the output of my colored noise too, and I'm going to plug it into my VCA too. Right there, audio input 2 of my VCA. And then I'm going to take my output of my envelope generator and patch it right into my CV. So still no sound yet because my output's not plugged into my mixer. I'm going to go from my output and right into my input. So now if I press the key, I should hear something. Let's hear what we have. Here we go. We have a little bit of noise. So if I want to change the mixture of my white and colored noise, I can go over here to my inputs on my VCA, sort of adjust that. So there I'm going more white noise. But again, the volume of my overall sound is being controlled via the VCA, which is being controlled by the envelope generator over here. So as I'm pressing a key, it's triggering it in the low setting here. So if I bring up my attack, we expect it to kind of slowly fade into the sound. It may not be as noticeable because my sustain time is pretty high, so let's try that. There we go. And again, this is a short sound. Let's try it over in medium. Flipping over. Definitely noticeable there. Sounds more like ocean waves. Sound continues a little bit. Let's increase the release time some and hear what that sounds like. So now the only part of that sound that I'm really not enjoying too much is the sustain portion. So I can bring that up a little bit. I want it to kind of go a little bit longer as I'm holding the note. I can also change the mixture. If you watched any of our A118 demos, I can change the mixture of my noise going into my colored noise portion of this sound. So I can change my blue and red mixture a little bit. So that's a nice little sound right there. Alright, so let's hear what it sounds like with all the settings all the way to minimum, kind of like I did in the last demo. Since we're on the low setting, again, little click. Or actually, no, we're on the medium setting. Still have a little click though, because everything is to the minimum. Bring it over to high, I should get a little bit. Almost like a shaker. Not quite a shaker, but it's a little more like a shaker. So eventually you get a different kind of sound. And you can kind of tweak your sound. So there I have a little bit of a longer release time. There I can tell it to want to fade in a little bit. Release is still a little short, as you can hear at the end, because it's kind of just chopping it off. So a little something more gradual might be in order. If what I'm aiming for is to emulate the sound of waves. And just so you can see the brightness of the light. Should slowly be going down, getting dimmer, and the sound is slowly fading away. Okay. So let's do what we did in the previous demo and kind of hear what the settings that we did as far as like long attack, long release are going to sound like, but with a white noise source rather than a VCO pitch source. Okay, so right now we have kind of a medium release. Let's bring the attack up right about there. So hopefully that's not too long. So I'm going to hold this down and we should hear a long fading in of a sound. Here we go. And then when I release, sound will start to fade. Almost like a flyby, or however you want to visualize this. Okay, so that's with a kind of a longer attack time and sort of a medium release time. Let's try the very, very short sustain time and hear how that sounds combined with our long attack and our sort of medium-ish release. Okay. So to me this sounds a little bit more like waterfalls, or whatever you want to sort of visualize with this, running water. And then when I let go, it should just kind of fade away. Might take a little bit of time, but as you can see, the gate is no longer triggering the sustain portion, so it moved right along to the release portion. Cool. And there it's still continuing until it goes off into silence. Okay, so that takes care of that in the high setting. So let's take a listen to that over in the medium setting. So we should have the same shape, just in a shorter amount of time. So here we go. At a certain point, this almost sounds like someone's sweeping a little bit. Let's bring the release down a little bit. Yeah. There's your sweeping sound. And we can also flip it over into the low setting. That should be our shortest version, or it's just a little cutty. Good for percussion type sounds. I could kind of tweak that until I get something that I like. Now, short attack time will probably give me something more like a snare. It does take a little bit of shaping to get it there. There's more like a short hi-hat. There's more like a snare. Kind of like that. So there you go. You made a little snare sound. But then, you know, let's say you're doing a snare sound. You're like, I wonder what that would sound like over in the medium setting. Let's do that. So tons of possibilities to kind of play around with and explore. The A140 Envelope Generator. So this time around, we did listen to a little bit of a different type of sound. We listened to a white noise source being controlled in volume by an envelope generator, and then sort of experimented a little bit with the different types of settings. Now, there's probably millions of things you could do with these and trigger various modules. Like I could have used the envelope generator to trigger the pitch of my VCO. But for the most part, I wanted to do a little more practical example, how you would normally use an envelope generator. I think overall that kind of just gives you a little bit better of an understanding of how you would actually use one of these if you were having it plugged into, you know, your synthesizer and you wanted to make a sound. So I hope that you found this demo and the previous ones fairly useful. We've now looked at the A140 in a couple of different lights. The first two kind of a more, I'm going to shape my sound, sonic putty type of environment, not so much on the performance side. And then these last two have been more focused on if you're triggering it with a keyboard, how you can use it to shape your sound. And I think it really shines in the performance part of using it in a modular environment anyway, because, you know, it's almost like that's what it's intended for, because you can really shape it, you can really give articulations to the sounds that you create or that you're playing. So if you want to make a very long sustained sound, you can, and you can tweak it to get it perfect. So that's going to do it for this demo. I hope that, again, it was useful. Stay tuned. Upcoming demo, not 100% sure yet, but I have a couple of ideas floating around. So please stay tuned for that, and we may have a guest appearance of the A140 in the next demo. Maybe the A110. We'll see what happens. So keep on patching out there, and thanks for watching.